After years of having it recommended to me, I finally decided to sit down and watch all of Stranger Things. So in this video, I'm going to be reviewing each and every single season. There will be spoilers, obviously. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Season 1 is probably the most simple of all of the seasons, but I think it is ultimately an advantage to the season. The first season has what for the sake of this video, I'm going to call the FNAF 1 effect. What I mean by this is that the aspects of the original Five Nights at Freddy's game that made it so popular can also be seen in this show. What I mean by this is that the original FNAF game was very simple, yet it left a lot of room for potential speculation and lore building that the fan community could come up with on their own. This is most seen throughout the first season with the mystery of the Upside Down as well as the mystery surrounding Elle's character. The standout characters this season are Elle and Hopper, both of which are extremely likable characters and interesting characters with that. The story is a fairly simple one where we follow multiple groups of characters all searching for their friend Will, who has been trapped in a mysterious place known as the Upside Down, where he will have to deal with monsters like the Demogorgon. Honestly, if you are not committed enough to watch the entirety of the show, yet you still have a little free time or a free afternoon, I would highly recommend checking out the first season. It's a really good time and it ends in such a way where you don't need to watch the other seasons to feel like you're at a good stopping point. I give season 1 an 8 out of 10. Season 2 had a lot on its shoulders to follow up Season 1. Season 2 introduces two really interesting characters into our main cast, these characters being Max and Billy. It also has the difficult task of making Will an interesting character after he was kind of benched within the first season. Honestly, the story of the second season is much smaller than the first one. This time around, Will gets attacked by the Mind Flaker, and it is up to the main cast to close the gate to the Upside Down in order to save Will. This season really focuses on Will's trauma following up the events of the first season, which I believe was a really smart move. My only problem with this season is Elle becomes a much more boring character. They pair her up with Hopper this season, making him kind of a father figure for her, but all they really do is fight, which makes both of their characters less likable this time around. The only interesting thing they do with Elle this season is building up her relationship with 8. It honestly makes me hopeful that at some point throughout the series, we'll see Elle take up a more dark villainous role, and I think it would be something really cool. While the pairing of Elle and Hopper did not really work for me, what did work was the pairing of Steve and Dustin. I was not a huge fan of either of these characters on their own in Season 1, but now seeing them together, they are one of the highlights of the season. The only question I still have is if they named the Season 1 monster the Demogorgon because they were playing D&D in the first episode, why didn't they name the Mind Flayer Frygar since they were playing Dig Dug in the first episode? Either way, I really do like Season 2 and I give it a 7.5 out of 10. Season 3 is kind of the worst one. It repeats the same villain from Season 2, only he's a lot more disgusting now. Elle and Mike constantly fight this season, which makes them both super unlikable. Honestly, I think Max and Alexi are probably the highlights of this season. Also, Robin is a really good addition and adds a lot to the Dustin and Steve duo. But honestly, that's about it. 4 out of 10. Okay, this feels like a hot take. Season 4 is only okay. I mean, don't get me wrong, Season 4 has some of the greatest moments in the series. The problem is that there's a lot of boring moments as well. I would say episodes 1, 7, and 8 are really good episodes. The problem is that leaves around 6 hours worth of season, and it's just kind of boring and hard to get through. I think the biggest problem that I have with Season 4 is that I don't love the groups of characters that are paired up this season compared to the earlier ones. Separating Hopper and Joyce and Elle from the main cast, as well as putting Will, Jonathan, and Mike away from the main cast, are all three decisions that ultimately hurt the season. With that being said, I do not think the whole season is bad. I think Vecna is a really interesting villain and is probably the best villain in the series so far. Along with this, I really like the friendship being built between Eddie and Chrissy in the first episode and hated that we didn't get to see any more of it throughout the season for obvious reasons. I will say that it left us in a really interesting spot going into Season 5, and I'm excited to see what the show does going forward. At the end of the day though, Season 4 gets a 6 out of 10. It's not a bad season by any means, but it's nowhere near as good as the first two seasons were. In conclusion, Stranger Things is a really good show that I would highly recommend for anyone to watch. I think the first half of the series has been a lot better than the second half, but there's still a lot of interesting moments that make it worth coming back to. I would love to know what you guys think about the series. What you can see on screen right now is how I actually ranked each and every single season from best to worst. And with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye, guys.